There's so many faulty notions out there, things that we've just kind of bought in that are myths that as you look through the world from these myths, it actually reinforces it. Things like it takes money to make money, or if you just work hard, it's all going to pay off. Or, there's so much to lose, and it's kind of like this scarcity mindset. It shows up as memes within our society, cliches within our language. And the reality is, you don't have to play not to lose. I grew up kind of doing that. Lived in a small coal mining town. I played basketball. We were up at halftime 18 different times, and we only won 3 games. Why? The second half, our mind shift changed to playing not to lose, and we no longer were winners. We started a loser's game, and I see people do this with money, with life, how they view retirement, and it's an epidemic within our culture. The second thing is, and you hear this all the time, I'm playing to win. And this was me early on in my 20s. I just worked so hard, I had no hobbies. People would find out I lived in Salt Lake City, or in some summers I'd be in Park City, and like, oh, do you ski? I'm like, no, I have a business. They're like, well, what are your hobbies? Business? I mean, it's amazing I'm still married because all I did was work. Because I believed if I just worked hard, one day, someday, I could live a life like no one else could live. But then my dad reminded me, you never get back the memories you never have. And ultimately, that hard work led to a suffering of my health, of even my marriage, and definitely I was an ordinary father at best. Until I discovered a revolutionary way of thinking and a different perspective on the world called win, then play. Win, then play is like the Super Bowl. The NFL's won before the game's ever played. They've already pre-sold the tickets so long ago that it's the best way to get a ticket is through a scalper. You've got concerts, you've got venues. I took my son to Houston a few years ago, and we went to like the pre-Super Bowl kind of NFL experience, and you could barely walk around. There were so many people. They've created all the excitement. They've set up the win. Then the game is played. See, this notion of budgeting and scrimping and lowering your quality of life so that one day, someday, you might be able to retire is a play to win at best, and for many people becomes a play not to lose when there's an economic shift like we're about to face that transfers wealth, even though all through the news it's talked about losses. The money's not lost, it's not evaporated or gone, it's in the hands of someone else that plays by a different set of rules, and now it's time to legally and ethically rig the game back in the favor of those that are out there working so hard in this world. Because hard work with the wrong mindset or philosophy still equals struggle and even potentially bankruptcy. I mean, if hard work was all there was to it, my great-grandfather, who was a coal miner and had to leave his family for 7 years to leave Italy to come to the United States, he would have been financially wealthy. Or even my grandfather, who had side businesses in addition to being a coal miner, or my dad, who was a coal miner, we never saw wealth because it was playing to win. So what's win then play? It's how you can go from having an idea or turning that into a concept where it's actually more concrete, or a framework where other people can support you, and bringing out a product, a good, or a service that can be profitable in the marketplace because of the rules and the perspective of value creation. If someone has a money problem, it's not ever actually a money problem. That's just a symptom. The problem exists in 2 more precious forms of capital. The first one is mental capital. It's your mindset, it's ideas, it's knowledge, it's wisdom, it's tools, it's systems, and we're in a world where we are rewarding brains over brawn. It's an amazing time. The next thing is relationship capital. It's people, networks, organizations. It's mentors, it's family, it's friends, it's customers. It's where most of the latent potential exists with wealth. And when you learn to tap into it in a win-then-play scenario, you will inevitably have more money. And the way that we combine mental and relationship capital is through service, through solving problems, and through delivering that value. Therefore, any money problem is really a problem of mindset or relationships. And when people understand this, they have a direct framework to be more resourceful, to learn it doesn't take money to make money, it takes value creation, and the revolutionary kind of wrapping around this is win then play. I hit New York Times with my first book. I pre-sold 22,000 books before it was ever released. That's win then play. I created a concept called the cycle of creation, where you add mental and relationship capital to every phase of bringing a product to market or a service to market, so you know exactly what to do, what to achieve, who to grab, so that by the time it ever comes out, you've already been profitable. The first time we ever did something called the Fast Track on Demand, it was a program that we put out there, and we hadn't even fully filmed it. We had outlined it. We told everybody, hey, we're going to give this to you at 50% of the retail price to be part of our kind of eyes and ears and our beta version to tell us what's going on, and we'll release it a week at a time. And we created a 7-week program, made the money before we filmed the first video. It paid for the studio, all the equipment, and all the energy and feedback we got from people. It's no longer about raising financial capital, just knowing the right people, not having all the right ideas, and then hoping that one day it's going to show up as this really great, amazing company. There's a way to be profitable right from the get-go, learning about cash flow, economic independence, recovering cash that's rightfully yours, that it's either going to the government or to financial institutions or to, it could be insurance companies, that with a little financial savvy and insight gives you the fuel and the cash without having to budget or cut back, and instead have quality of life along the way. Redefine retirement, that you never leave your purpose and you're always in charge of your value creation, have an exponential growth without working harder or taking on more risk. Sound a little bit too good to be true? Win Then Play isn't. It's exactly how the people that have created the most wealth in this world and the most value and that we put on a pedestal have had as an invisible structure that will now be visible to you and all of your event attendees and anyone that actually gets to hear me speak.